So, hola, good evening, buenas noches, gute Nacht, bonsoir, buonasera, and that's pretty much about it. That's pretty much how I can say good evening in those languages. Why, Mike? Why are you doing this? Well, let me tell everyone that today is an interesting topic. Languages. How can we connect with different languages? But why, Mike? I mean, we already have English, yes, but recently, thanks to the internet and thanks to the place most of us live in, we get access to plenty of cultures. We get access to plenty of material coming from another countries. For example, if you're a music fan, what is a genre that is becoming increasingly popular with the pass of time? K-pop. Are you a K-pop fan? I am. I am a fan of Rammstein, a German band. So I listen to Korean music, I listen to German music, and I love anime. So I listen to a lot of anime openings. So I also listen to Japanese music. Try to meditate, try to think, how many cultures do you come across with in your regular life? Think about it and make sure to leave a comment in the section to tell us about your experience. What culture interests you? What language are you learning besides English, or what made you learn English? We have a couple of guests that are making their return in the Let's Talk show who actually come across to their plenty share of languages. Without further ado, let's bring them out. Coming back, here it is Marcia and Jordi. Boom!
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Marcia. Hello, Jordi. Good to have you back here. How's it going? Everything cool, I hope?
Yeah, of course.
Everything cool? Everything fine over here? Everything chill? What about you? How are you feeling
Uh,
tonight?
Oh my God, it's been quite a day. It's been quite a rush, but like I mentioned previously, I'm so glad I'm here. This is kind of like the how can I put this, the highlight of my day, because I am also very interested in the topic. So here's what we're going to do. Let's do some general approach, some general insight, and I will focus as we go on to each one of you. All right?
All right.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
So
Yeah.
let's break the ice. Like I said, this is like a bunch of guys hanging around in a coffee. I have my tea. So let's just give a casual conversation. The elephant in the room, languages. What, which could you say that is your favorite language or the one that interests you the most? Marcia.
That's kind of a risky question. Kind of a risky question in the sense that I have many of them. Like, there's the ones that I
Okay.
study because I want to study them, and there's the other ones that I am really interested in, but at the same time, I don't know if I would be able to properly speak them, and then just feeling all frustrated because I'm not able to speak them, but I still find them very beautiful. Icelandic is one of those. Euskera is also one of those. For example, they're so beautiful. They're so complex. What makes them beautiful is more than just like being able to just communicate with people, but what goes behind all of them, like each of them. I mean, but the languages that I have learned are different from the languages that I've been. Like, I can say that it's two categories, like the ones that I have learned, because yeah, I kind of like them too. But then the ones that I really like are very difficult, so it's like another category in itself.
Okay. So as I understand, Icelandic and Euskera. I don't know how to say it in English, but I hope our viewers know which one we're talking about. The language spoken in País Vasco, in
Exactly.
Euskadi to be exact. Those are languages that you consider to be very interesting and very beautiful. However, like you say, they are very complex. And as I understand, Icelandic is in a list. Curious fact for our viewers, is in a list of the hardest languages to learn. Could you confirm that? What do you think, Marcia?
Well, I think it's kind of difficult, but I mean, it's not as difficult as Basque. And let me tell you why. Because at least Icelandic has all of these roots within Nordic languages, as in Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, everything. So if you go back to it, sometime I mean, if you go back to it, there's many correlationships between them compared to what Basque is. That
Yeah.
as far as we know, like as far as we linguists know so far, there isn't really like any relationship with any other languages. It's an isolated tongue. So that's the thing. I mean, you can relate Icelandic with other languages which have like Germanic roots, which already like gives you a hint, like a little bit of English, a little bit of German, something like that. Um, but the thing with Basque or with Euskara is that it's very difficult to learn because there's basically nothing that you can relate it to create your connections to start like building up your knowledge. You know what I mean?
Gora Euskadi. That's pretty much everything I know about the language. That's pretty
But
much what.
Jordy, I see that Jordy is kind of like holding himself whenever I talk. So I really want to hear what he's got to say.
There you go, Jordi. Let's bring him out. What do you
I
think,
just,
bro?
I just want to say that I completely agree. Answering your question, which is, I mean, I also think it's a difficult question because it's on. I mean, you have the languages that you like, the ones that you enjoy, and the ones that are interesting. And for example, I can tell you, like, completely honestly and everything, I love the Catalan language. I mean, it's my favorite one.
Okay.
And I really like Turkish as well.
Oh my
I
gosh, yes,
mean,
that's
I
it.
mean, my Turkish is like really rusty, but I like it. Um, and I also consider Euskara to be like really interesting because of what Marcia said. I mean, it's a completely isolated language. We cannot make like comparisons or connections. So I think, or that's why I really like it. Also, Welsh. I mean, Welsh has like sister languages or related languages,
Hmm.
but I also think Welsh is very interesting. I like it. It sounds and it looks very cool. And well, about Icelandic, what can I say? I love it, and but that one it's because I mean, as you may know, Mike, I am like currently studying Old Norse, and well, Old Norse is like super close to Icelandic. So uh, I agree. It's not that difficult. It has like some notions that might be strange, particularly for Spanish speakers or things like that, languages like that. But it's not that difficult.
You got it, bro. I
Yeah.
also can see the runes in your forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm.
This one. Yes.
Oh my god, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Everything is Old Norse.
Wow. And I mean, as I know,
Hmm.
you guys speak different languages. You guys are familiar with different languages. Can you tell me which languages do you particularly know in a grammar level? That means that you can you can read it, you can sort of all this understand it, and why not speak it, Marcia?
Okay, it's kind of more or less the same. I mean, more or less of the same thing that I mean, it goes like in the same line because it's like English, German, Dutch, to different extents. Yeah, English, German, Dutch. I can read Japanese, but I mean, I cannot really say that I speak it. I know certain things about the grammar, but I just can't really. Yeah, I'm not going to say that I'm able to build up a sentence. I can read Cyrillic alphabet, but I mean, I cannot say that I can speak Ukrainian or Bulgarian or Russian. But I mean, I can kind of read it, but don't ask me what it means. So I can't really say that I'm fluent in them. But more or less, yes.
Golly. What about you, my dear Jordy?
Well,
Besides Old Norse, obviously, and
yeah,
English, of
yeah.
course.
Well, obviously, Spanish, of course, Catalan. I
Damn.
can understand. There is this language that is called Occitan. It's related
Mm,
to Catalan, but mostly in the French area.
friends.
So, mhm. So since they are very, very close, I can understand it, but I cannot speak it because it has like some particular details. Um, I can like read Turkish, but sometimes I get confused. It's like I know this is a verb, but I don't get the exact idea and that sort of thing. But mostly those. And well, if you want to know, uh, since I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings, the two main kinds of Elvish, like Quenya and Sindarin, that's my shit. So yeah, yeah,
So you can
yeah,
speak
yeah.
them.
What?
So you can speak both of those.
What?
So you can speak both of those, or
Both
you're
of those.
learning that.
I can speak them like a little
Mhm.
bit because it's been a while. So I can read it. I can sort of speak it. So
Mhm.
yeah. Hmm.
Can you speak the Sindarin tattooed in your bicep?
Well, this is not Sindarin. This is actually Quenya.
All
It's like
right.
in the world of the Lord of the Rings. It's like Latin or Greek.
Oh,
Um, Let me see if I remember what because I don't remember where it begins. Ah, okay. This one here, the one below,
yeah.
says Yulalo. Nah, let me see because I'm mixing them.
Damn, Jordy. Wow.
Yeah, I'm mixing them. I
Well, I
think
mean,
it's
you are
Yulalo
aware. Uh
Ruine Nova Koivana. I think that's the one.
huh.
Yeah, and
What
Wow.
what does that mean? That's
it
like
means something like from the ashes a fire will be reborn or something like that.
Like a phoenix.
Yeah, that's quite the
yeah,
idea.
kind of.
Marcia, which brings me to this. Is there if it's if it's a language that you love to speak, can you give us a little bit of an example?
A language that I love to speak and that I can speak. Mm,
Yeah, or something that you know. For example, like I mean, not necessarily like 100% fluent, but just to give our viewers an example of how you guys are really into other languages. For example, kare wa uh, kare wa Marcia Chan des. Kare wa Marcia Chan des. She is
ah,
Marcia. It's my
uh-huh.
Japanese and what's
Although in
what.
Japanese it would be kind of like Marushiya-san, right? Because of yeah, Marushiya-san or
HDR.
Marushiya-chan. Marushi,
Ah,
because
it's
there is no
is
C. It's she because of the
she Marishia, the
because of the
katakana.
katakana that's used for foreign names.
Marishia. Well, it's because that I currently learn that san is,
Yeah, true.
for an adult figure, that it's kind of like almost an authority,
Well,
or an adult that you don't necessarily have um, the trust into saying like, "Hey,
Yeah,
dude,
like
you know what's
human
up?" Like,
distance. Yeah.
yeah, it's too like it's like being too polite,
Uh-huh.
too polite. But that's why for also for our viewers, Mr. Miyagi calls Daniel-san because he barely knew him. So
Yeah, true.
it's called honorifics. But that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Let's get back to you.
Okay, there is
Yeah.
one thing that I know that I know how to say in Icelandic. One
Oh,
of the very few things, and it's going to make you all laugh because one of the only few things that I know that I know how to say in Icelandic is "Ég tala ekki íslenska," and that basically means I don't know how to speak. I don't speak Icelandic, and
so that's what it was going to make us laugh.
it's
Oh,
actually and it's actually it was like a how is it, like a marketing strategy or something like that. They even had shirts like "Ég tala ekki íslenska," and then they started writing them, yeah, "Ég tala sko íslenska." That was like I do speak Icelandic. Um, but I mean, I don't. So I have to be very honest. So I say the first. So I say the first sentence instead.
wow, you guys are incredible. Damn. What made you? What made you want to learn and investigate about these languages that you know about, Jordi?
Um, well, about the artificial languages, because I'm a big nerd. But for all the others, well, English because of school, and now because, well, it's my job and I have to, to keep up to date.
Yeah.
And but for the others, basically because my dream is to travel, and I mean, I really, really want to visit Turkey because of my favorite building in the world is there. So I want to go there, and I think it's mostly out of respect. Like you go to a place, show some respect, at least learn the language, learn the basics, so that you can communicate with the people, and you don't have to force them to use a different language. So mostly because of that.
Okay.
Old Norse for religious reasons, and therefore Icelandic. I mean, Icelandic was like an unexpected consequence, but yeah, mostly that.
What about you, Marcia?
What about me? Can you remind? Repeat the question?
Sure, my dear. Sure. What made you want to learn and investigate about the languages that you know?
Okay, I think that I have several answers for this because number one,
Oh.
it is because I'm just very very curious, and the fact that I'm very curious implies that I am also super super nosy, and that means that I want to hear gossip in other languages, and I want to know what the fuss is about, and I want to know what they're talking about, and of course I want to know like what people are gossiping about in other languages. That's why I mean, apart from me learning them in academic contexts and everything, I want to know what they are talking about and who they're making fun of and what do they laugh about. So that's why I also pay attention to a lot of memes from other languages that I'm learning, because I mean I just don't want to speak the language. I am kind of sassy, so I also want to be able to correct the speaker sometimes, so to correct the speaker sometimes and be
Oh.
like, okay, yeah, but I have learned your language, like academically, you learned it from your parents, so I can tell you with a lot of like studies behind that this is like this, and it's just, yeah, because I'm very nosy and I want to get into the gossip too, and I want to talk to people. So yeah, it's like a great. I mean, if you have the tools to go with people and correct them in those languages and whatever. But I mean, this is I'm just playing superficial here. I mean, the thing is that I'm actually very interested in languages, and I'm joking. I'm very like interested in how, I don't know, the grammar, the context. For example, I'm very passionate about pragmatics too. So that's also a reason I mean, pragmatics is basically this, like memes and everything that goes around how they use certain words and what they mean in certain contexts, whatever. So that's actually what's behind it. I mean, I'm very into what makes a society, I know what a society talks about and everything. So yeah, it's a way of getting to it. Like, yeah, but by how they speak. So yeah, it's basically it. It's just being. I mean, you can call it being very curious, being very, I don't know, like being very into how societies work. I just call it being nosy and liking gossip. Yeah.
Have you actually managed or accomplished to listen to gossip with other people in another
Yeah,
language or
absolutely.
to?
Yeah, and gossip about, I mean, and figure out that people were gossiping about me in other languages, and I'm like, okay, should I remind you that I also speak your language?
Which one? Which was it? Which language was it?
I don't remember if it was in Dutch, and I'm like, oh my god, I know what you're talking about. I could hear it. I could hear it. Like I already know what you. I have studied it for at least an A1, A2, so I know what I hear that. I know what you're talking about. I can recognize that word, and I know what you mean.
That's what you told them.
Yeah, basically.
Ooh.
No, but in a jokingly way. Not as in they were saying something bad. But I heard that they were saying something that I wasn't supposed to do because I think it was a surprise or something like that. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
god, I know what you meant. I know what you meant, huh? You can no longer use your language because I know what you mean.
guys, as multilingual persons, and Marcia, in your case, as a linguist,
Mhm.
what languages do you guys think are very important to know about in today's society, Jordi, in today's world? Let's call it like that.
Oh, okay, I think it's very important to. I mean, maybe not completely study them because not everyone is into that, but at least understand or know about. I don't know if it's the right term about these minoritarian languages, like languages that have been like displaced by the biggest ones. That's why, for example, I love Catalan and Welsh, Gaelic, that I think is also disappearing. Occitan, those like small languages. I mean, those are important because they were there for a reason, and just suppressing them because there are others that are like, let's say, invading them. It's not cool. So, of course, native languages are very important. So I think, as I said, if not completely learn and study them, people should be aware of them. So yeah, I will go for that answer, like minoritarian languages.
What about you, Marcy?
I think I agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I mean I completely second this. I feel like there's these languages that we should keep for our identity and our culture and everything else. There's something that's very cool that I have a book from this. Like I didn't know that and this made me feel very ignorant that there were like this Mexican basic education books, but in native languages from here, which is a really good thing. But I mean, it's only for the people. As far as I know, it's only for the people that live in those communities. And I mean, it would have been very good if they would have told us and they would ask us to learn all of these languages as Spanish speakers for us to have this and for us to, yeah, I mean, maybe English, German, or French or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, English as a must for the needs of this world, and but making an emphasis on the native languages. I think that we should emphasize on that. Being in a plurilingual country, I think it's very important. And if we don't speak them, then they are going to get lost. And so I think not just like learning them for the sake of learning them, but also learning them to keep our national identities and regional identities alive.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, just a quick parenthesis, I would like to recommend you guys and to our viewers this very curious movie. It's a Mexican movie, by the way, called Sueño en Otro Idioma. And it's about a linguist, an expert that goes to a remote population in Mexico to record the last two people
Mm.
that speak in a native language. Can you believe that? Only two people left. So it's quite shocking to know what you guys are saying. That yes, we are a multilingual country because there are plenty of native languages surrounding us in different states, in different towns, in different populations that surround the big city, the big cities, or the capitals of each state. How would you guys feel to know that these languages, maybe some of them already disappear, or one could actually get lost in time? How do you guys feel about it, Yordi?
I mean, it's shocking, and it's because I mean, normally when we think about death, we think about death of like physical entities. But when
Sure.
you realize things like that can also die, it's like, damn. And and I think it hits harder because it's something bigger than a person because it's a way of transmitting culture or even culture itself. So yeah, it's kind of I don't know it's like a strange combination of sadness. It's like surprise. I don't know, but yeah, mostly that.
What about you, Marcy? How would you feel?
In my case, it's outrage because there could have been emphasis by governments or by the society in general for us to do something about this. And speaking of awareness, but I mean, we just don't think of it, or we just don't emphasize on it enough. And then I think I mean supporting what Jordi has already said. There is this saying that whenever a language dies, a culture dies. Indeed, a culture dies, and a whole bunch of like all of these perceptions of life, cosmovision, everything, all of this dies. And you want to say something?
No. I'm just
Oh well,
processing
yeah.
everything.
All of this cosmovision and all of these perspectives from these people die, and that's why I feel like it's outraging. Like there are still some things that we can do at this point, but we just I mean it's not like we choose not to do it, but we're also not encouraged to do it, and we never get this spark of curiosity into like of trying to do something about it, and so that's why I feel it's kind of outraging. Like we could do something. We just need more people to actually say like, "Hey, there's actually something that's dying," you know? So yeah.
Now, there
Hmm.
is another window that I would like to open related to our topic. I
Right.
was struggling in how to call them because I'm not sure if there is even a term. If there is, please tell me about it. But to formulate my question, I will just call them non-speaking languages. And by this one, by
Okay.
these, I mean sign languages and braille. Have you ever been interested in learning these two?
Yes, of course.
I think
Why,
we
Jordi?
really are.
Okay, two affirmative answers. Let's come out to the reasons. Jordi.
I don't know if Morse code counts here,
Of
but
course,
I
yes.
mean, uh, I got interested in Morse code. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how to use Morse code, but I got interested into that basically to cheat during exams. Nah, of course not. Nah, but no, because it's. I mean, I think it was mostly out of curiosity and to learn something new. You know, at some point I was interested in sign language as well because you never know when you're going to need it, and of course someone might really appreciate it, so I got interested in that as well. So yeah, that's basically the reason, for uh, out of curiosity, and then because it's a nice thing to do because you consider other people's needs maybe. And Braille, well, not really, because at this point I don't quite need it. Who knows? Maybe eventually I will, but at this point I don't. So
What about you, Marcia? You also gave an affirmative answer.
Yeah, now I feel like Jordi was feeling at the very beginning with the first question because I'm just like, yeah, 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 what he's saying is what I wholeheartedly agree with. Because, yes, exactly. I mean, sign language, sign language would be like, yeah, to know how to speak it, but at the same time, it's not just to know how to, to know how to sign it, but also like to know, how is it to integrate more people to certain things. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. um, as an imagine this. How would we be like streaming this with someone speaking sign language, for example? Would be great. Like many way more people would be able to see this. And Braille, yeah, exactly as you said. I don't need it for now, but I don't really know if I will. But it would be interesting. It would be interesting. And even more when at least I live in a city where everything is, well, not everything, but some things are very accessible in this sense. So many things are designed for blind people. So then, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, being able to know what it says, how they perceive it. I don't know, like putting ourselves in their shoes too. But yeah, but the thing about sign language is that you don't just learn sign language. It's like Mexican sign language. There's American sign language. There's like, I think it's even different depending on the Spanish speaking country. So it's not
mhm,
the same
Wait,
thing.
yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know
Hmm.
that. Wow.
yes.
Exactly.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I honestly didn't know that. Wow. In your personal opinion, is there one particular language that you think everyone should try to learn or at least investigate a little bit? Marcia.
Well, this is a difficult question because I don't really like get the direction of the question. As in, you want me to say, for example, like, oh yeah, we all should be learning English because that's kind of like a basic. Yeah.
For example, many people think that at some point China will be the number one nation, the superpower nation.
Uh huh. Exactly.
So, should we all learn Chinese? That's the direction of the question. Or,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, with the popularity of the Korean culture, should we all learn Korean? Or, since, there are English shines, even if in our country, should we all learn English? That's what I meant.
Well, I feel like in a very how what sense can I say this? Like I can't even remember the words in Spanish, so I'm kind of lost. So I wanted to say in a very practical sense, yeah, one would say like the very quick answer would be, yeah, everyone should speak English because it's the language that they are even speaking sometimes in China. But then I think I think that that's a very difficult question to answer because I would say like, oh yeah, because one can say like, oh yeah, China is going to be the next superpower. Everyone should learn Chinese. But then some other people can say like, oh yeah, what if I think it's going to be different, and maybe, and since there's like a lot of Mexican population in the United States in this case, then the largest the language with the largest amount of speakers in the rest in the world could be Spanish. So yeah, why don't we motivate people to learn Spanish in that case? So it's kind of like very different criteria for to give this question an answer, because I feel like there's like a lot that goes behind it. Like I feel like it's a personal choice, but at the same time, there's some things that are just happening in the world, and it's like, oh yeah, everyone should learn English. Yes, in a very practical sense. You know how I mean it. You know how I mean it, right?
I actually love that one in a very practical sense. I love that expression. Very nice. Thank you. What about you, Jordi?
Well, the thing is, I have a big problem with that question because when we say there is a language that everyone should study or should learn about, it implies there is a language that is kind of more important than the others. So I don't
Oh,
really like it. Uh, but for practical reasons, I mean, of course, everyone is going to say English. However, my answer is going to go more like in an emotional way, but and still it's a little bit strange. But I think at some point people should try Sanskrit, and it's in an emotional way because as far as I know, Sanskrit is the closest thing we have to our primordial language, which is proto-indo-european. So I mean, because I mean, but that excludes, for example, the Asian languages and the Middle Eastern languages, the what is the name, the Semitic languages.
Hmm.
They
okay,
don't
okay.
come from there. But I mean, most of the languages we speak today come from Proto-Indo-European, and Sanskrit is the closest thing we have. So giving it a try would be like going back to the roots. But I insist that excludes a lot of languages, and that feels strange. So, but yeah, that's like the main issue I have with that question. There is no language that is more important than the others. Yes, there are some that are more common,
Wow.
and maybe we use them a little bit more, but there is no language, and I don't think we emphasize this or we mention this enough. There is no language that is more important than the others.
Thank you so
I love
much,
your
guys, for
insight.
saying that. Me
I
too.
love your insight. I love your
Me
insight.
too. Guys, to wrap this up, just kind of like a fun question. Let's call it like that. For
All
you
right,
guys to let loose.
all right, go for
Given
it.
all the languages that you speak, given all the languages that you know, have you ever come across one in particular that you said, you know what, I quit. It's too much, it's too hard, or it's just not for me, because it's also valid. Marcia.
Oh, easy question. Hungarian.
Oh,
Also, Jordi, well, what happened in what happened there?
No, nothing happened in Hungary, but it's just that when I was very, very eager to learn other languages, and I was very passionate just about basically learning anything that wasn't from my culture. I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, maybe Hungarian. It sounds like it's a different language, and then I decided to start reading on it, on their grammar, on their syntax, everything else, and then it's like, what? I mean, it's a beautiful culture. It's a beautiful language too. But then for you to see all of the, I mean, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
If you think that Spanish has a lot of rules, if you think that Spanish has a lot of tenses, no.
Tenses, yes.
Like Hungarian is another thing, and it's also, as far as I remember, I think it's a, no, it's also kind of an isolated language as far as I remember.
Kind of.
Finno-Ugric
Yeah.
language. No, but not even, right? That's another thing. Like it has no relationship, no relation with other languages as far as I remember. So
No, I don't think
it's
so.
like, what can I trace this back to? And it's already way too complex grammar. What am I supposed to do? So I mean, it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Recently, I have been like trying to learn more about this, but God, no, no, no. It sounds like it sounds amazing. It sounds very nice to the ears. But then for me to think to be able to ever, it makes me very sad actually because I want to be able to speak it, but I feel like I won't have enough of a lifespan to be able to actually master it. So it will all be just like despair. So rather not try it, like give up. Rather give up at this point.
All right. What about you, Jordi?
Yeah, I have to agree. Hungarian is so damn difficult, and Polish. But I mean, Polish is like is a Slavic language, and you can trace it back, but mostly because of the sounds. Polish is also difficult. So I'd go for Hungarian and Polish, and yeah, I think only those two.
Wow. 2 points down for Hungary. Damn.
Or try to, or I mean, Jordi, I mean, think on learning how to write
Right, what?
Thai, Thai language.
Thai.
Thai.
Oh, Thai.
Yes.
Thai.
Like,
Okay.
have you seen their written system? It's
Mhm.
very complex. It's very very complex.
I think also, what is it? Is it called Georgian?
Yeah, Jordan, the one that
Yeah,
goes like
that
like
like a lot of little curves. Yes, that one is like, oh man.
Georgian.
Mm-hmm.
The one from Georgia, or am
Yeah,
I way
yeah.
too mistaken? Really? Oh,
yeah,
thank God. Thank God.
yeah, like right there in the Caucasus, like some like in the Caucasus goes to Azerbaijan, Ukraine, all of this.
All right.
Yes, that one might also be tricky.
The old countries in the Soviet Union. Well, what used to be the Soviet Union. Guys, wow. I'm having too much fun with this. I'm learning a lot thanks to you guys, but unfortunately, our time is up. But once again, yeah, I know that you were looking forward to participating in this. And Marcia, I also thank you for taking the time to participate once more here. Guys, it was so good to see you. I'm looking forward to have you in another show with another topic that you are very into. Why not? You're always welcome here.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
inviting us over, Mike. It's
Anytime.
always nice to talk with you guys,
Yeah,
and it's nice to meet you, Jordi.
yeah.
It
Nice
has
to
been
meet
very
you
nice to
too.
talk with you.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, right?
Oh.
Yeah, he is indeed.
Well, and that's all for our viewers as well. Be sure to comment, to be sure to feel free to share anything what you thought about the show, anything that you know about languages. Why not? This is also your space. Marcia was with us. Jordi was with us. Eric Rios was in the controls. I am Mike. And as usual, goodbye mwah, and good night.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye.